You're north of 2 million people that follow your content. Let's conceptualize that. 2 million people over time have said, this guy's content is awesome. I want to follow him and see new stuff that's coming out. How does that feel? What does that feel like to you? Welcome to the Influencer Income Show, the only show on social media that teaches you how to become an influencer from those that are at the top of their game doing it right now. I'm your host, Danny Dobrzenski, known around the internet as Cooking in the Yard. My guest today, Mr. Marco Sanchez, a man of many talents on social media. I would call a social media genius, and I cannot wait to dig into your experience. Marco, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for wanting to talk with me and chat a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. You have so much to offer, both new and existing creators and influencers. I can't wait to hear how this is going to go today. So before we dive into anything, let's tell us a little bit about yourself, where people can find you on social media, and tell us about your content.
On TikTok, I've been known for the last 5 years as Woodfire and Whiskey. Now on Instagram, I'm known as The Can of Barbecue. YouTube, The Can of Barbecue. Snapchat, The Can of Barbecue. You kind of get where I'm going. You know, my whole platform has kind of changed a little bit, but I used to be known as Woodfire and Whiskey. My content used to be all about the food and the whiskey. And, you know, just to give a short reason why, I never thought I can do cannabis content. I thought, you know, that would get flagged and taken down, and it does. We'll get into that later probably. But
I was going to say, you're right. Yes.
You know, on the other platforms, I've started moving everything over to a more cannabis forward type of content. It's just who I am. I smoke a ton of weed. I always have since I was a young lad. So I like to cook with cannabis. So a lot of my content is going to surround barbecue and how to infuse certain things, mostly how to infuse barbecue dishes. But from time to time, we'll go to like In-N-Out and infuse an In-N-Out burger or some shit, you know. So a lot of cannabis content, a lot of educational content coming up, you know, on how to infuse things and so forth.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I use the word genius there in the beginning. And I really believe that, because when you're switching niches on social media or you're moving from one thing to another, you need to bring your audience along with you, right? I mean, there's having lots of followers and nobody wants to look at your content is, you know, you might as well have zero, right? So what you've done for our audience that maybe hasn't seen Marco's content just yet, go check it out, influencerincomeshow.com. You'll be able to see all of his information linked there. Marco has gone from solely food, moved that over to cannabis content in a way that is bringing his followers with him. And I'm going to say, keep me honest here, correct me if I'm wrong, that the engagement has actually gone up and increased because of that. Are you seeing and feeling that as well?
100%. You know, at first, I think when I started to slowly introduce the cannabis content and I was still kind of doing the whiskey stuff, I was losing some people. But when this past January, I just kind of took the leap and jumped right into it. And the engagement has jumped. I think my following has just about doubled. I'm shy a few thousand of actually doubling from where I was last year. So that's kind of cool. You know, what I've learned, especially in the barbecue space, I'm a part of a group of influencers that came together and created a streaming service. We went all over the place, and I met so many different pit masters. And one thing I found is a lot of people like weed. You know, it's not so much that you have to drink at a barbecue. There's a ton of people that are firing up at barbecues too. So it's like, you know, it just kind of felt like, you know, the right place to be. When you meet a lot of pit masters and a lot of people that love barbecue, I mean, it's food, right? Who loves food? Stoners. We love food.
I was just going to say, so are you telling me, let me get this right here, that doing something that makes you hungrier at a barbecue event works out better, huh? That's amazing. I love it.
Just a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, cracking a beer and having a great time, you know, to each their own and stuff. I'm the guy that likes to smoke and I'll laugh, you know, but, you know, it's all in good fun, right?
Absolutely. I love it. So going back to your social media following, can you give us numbers real quick just for the audience here? So let's hear your following across your platforms.
So TikTok, I have 1.9 million. On Instagram, it's about 159,000. Snapchat, I have, I think, 75,000. And YouTube, I think 22,000, maybe 21,000 right now.
Nice.
Just somewhere around there. And I think I'm on other platforms. Like, I think I have a few thousand on Clapper.
Clapper, I'm on there. I know that one. Yeah, that was my hedge against TikTok going away. But that's a whole nother story, a whole nother episode. Very, very good. So here's the question I always ask to follow that up. You're north of 2 million people that follow your content. Let's conceptualize that. 2 million people over time have said, this guy's content is awesome. I want to follow him and see new stuff that's coming out. How does that feel? What does that feel like to you?
You know, it's incredible to know that, over 2 million people have clicked that follow button. I mean, you look at the likes because they show you the likes on TikTok, and like millions of people have hit that like button. It's incredible because I don't think any of us that got to this position over the last like 4 years, those of us that started during COVID, we just kind of didn't expect for it to blow up the way that it did and get the reaction that it did. So it's incredible. There's been times where, I've been out and, you feel like a quasi local celebrity. You're not a celebrity. We're just internet influencers, right? We make food on the internet. Normal people. I have an average house like everyone. It's pretty big. I like my house,
There you
but
go.
it's felt pretty good. It's felt like, damn, people, I hate saying this because it sounds self-absorbed, but people see me, people notice me. It's cool. It feels good. It's motivating. The other side of that is there's hate that comes with it. But I think we'll talk about that later. But it feels good, to have that reaction from people because you can keep doing this. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to set up my cameras and make food videos and just kind of goof around in front of the fucking camera, right?
Yeah,
So
it's awesome.
yeah, so these people that have clicked that follow and like button, man, I fucking love you guys, man. You guys make it so we can keep doing this. Like there's months and we could almost say a whole year where I haven't gotten paid from this shit. But that just knowing that, people like that, people enjoy it, people have when they click that button, it's like setting a reminder, that hey, I
Yep.
want to see this person again. So, it feels good So you show up for them.
Isn't that amazing that the average social media user or consumer has absolutely no idea about any of that, of the other side of the business, right? Of hitting that follow button or liking or commenting, like what the actual power of that is for the people on the other side of it, for the content creators. It's a really powerful tool. If you want to support somebody, if you like their content, hit the like button, comment on every post, even if it's, a fire emoji or whatever, right? Every comment counts. It's all numbers on a spreadsheet somewhere to somebody, and it all matters. So kudos to you for building that following and keeping them along with you.
What I would say too is for the influencer, as you're experiencing that, just be careful because that shit is a drug. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when people hit that like button, when people hit that follow button, you get used to that growth, and when it stops, and I've been there.
Yep.
I think 2022, I spent damn near depressed because things weren't going anywhere. So you need to be careful with how you accept the emotions that come from the likes and the follows and that rapid follow, right? Because it can get to
Yep.
your head really quick. I'm one of those people. It did get to my head. It didn't get to my head in a sense that I started having an ego online, but it got to my head that I had an ego at home, and not like, how do I put this? It just fucked with my emotions a bit because it was like, damn, I'm doing the same shit and it's not happening like it did before. So I would just tell everyone, be cautious of how you allow those emotions in when the rapid follows and the rapid likes happen, because it can and will end at some point.
Absolutely.
Or taper off and then come back, so.
Definitely. And so this is actually a really good point to say. I was reading a book, or listening to a book. I don't read anymore. I read my cookbook. It's called The Psychology of Money, which is an absolutely amazing book. I recommend for all creators and influencers out there, anybody looking to get into the business, about how you spend and how you save and how you think about money and yada, yada. But one of the key takeaways in the book, the author says nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems in the moment. And to your point, exactly, right? You post a video and it takes off and you get 100,000 followers in 3 days. Like, that's good, but you're not king of the world at that point, right? You still got to keep making content. You still get, it's almost that whole different ball of wax, in that you've got to figure out why that 100,000 people followed you. And you've got to do more content like that to keep them engaged and keep them from unfollowing, et cetera. So really great advice there. Just a quick break in the show to say thank you very much for watching this week's episode of the Influencer Income Show. While we're here, please take a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell to be notified whenever a new show comes out so you don't miss anything. If you're up for it, I'd love to see a comment from you telling me what you think of the show or any questions you've got for your favorite creators. All done? Awesome. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show. When you look back to the beginnings of your content, when did you start making social media content?
So this was right at the pandemic, right when it started. So what was this? 2019, at the end of 2019, I think it was. I had a so I was running a production department at an ad agency in Modesto, California. Uh, we had gone to LA to go shoot some stuff, some educational material, uh, something for the Department of Education. We were around a lot of kids, and I remember there were a few sick kids. I didn't think anything of it. It's like, okay, fuck,
Hmm.
if I get a cold from one of these kids, it's fine. It's not their fault, you know.
Yeah.
So we come back, and I got incredibly sick. I remember walking into the office and like just collapsing, and my buddy had taken me to the ER. They took a X-ray. Looked like I had pneumonia. Didn't have pneumonia. Didn't have the
Wow.
flu. They sent me home. So my boss at the time, he says, "Hey man, just quarantine for 10 days." That's what they're saying on the news. I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll stay home for 10 days. In those
Sure.
10 days, I knocked out all my edits and shit. Caught up on hella work. And I kid you not, on like that 9th, 10th day, California lockdown, and
Mm.
all of our shoots canceled. I was caught up on all my edits. I got bored as fuck, so I set my cameras up, went out and got a brisket, and I made a video. I called it the quarantine brisket. It was a horrible brisket, by the way. I was so proud of it, though. It was dry as shit. I cut into that thing. I was like, yeah, fuck, it's dry. Anyhow, so this was like end of 2019, and being at home, you're just scrolling through TikTok. This was the new hot app at the time,
Hmm.
and I remember seeing, just a bunch of the food creators and stuff, and I reached out to one person, and he gave me a ton of advice, and it worked. And I just kept making TikToks from there and posting them all over the place.
That's
But
awesome. So for somebody that wants to get into the business that doesn't necessarily have your level of production background and equipment, maybe because you're the quality, the cinematography on your videos is like Hollywood level. Like it's amazing. Not everybody has that. What advice would you give somebody that maybe just has their iPhone and the lights in their kitchen?
my advice would be, it don't get hung up on the cameras and the lights and the microphones and all that shit. I've had, man, I could show you my DMs throughout the last 5 years, and we're 4.5, 5 years, and I'll show you some of the biggest creators way past me, all up in my DMs asking me about camera stuff, microphones,
Hmm.
and lighting and all this shit. It doesn't matter. Some of these people, they did it, and some of these people did it. Matt Groark had hit me up once and asked me
Hmm.
about cameras. I believe his wife is a photographer too, a really good one. And he went out and bought a camera, but I don't think it was for him, because he went back to his phone and look at him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he makes
He's
great content
you.
as well. Yeah.
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 So don't get hung up on cameras and lights and action and all that shit. Just turn your phone on, make a
Yep.
video. If you're passionate about what you're filming, that's going to come through. Motion creates emotion, right? So
There you
get
go.
out there and just, make some fucking moves and shit. Create some
Yep.
content, throw some sauce on some wings. Look at TFTI.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah.
always making the
Absolutely.
polished videos that he has, but it was some
Hmm.
dope ass chicken wings that he was making and saucing up, right? And look at
That's
him.
right. Yep. Absolutely.
Eventually we move up and we get these cameras and the lighting and the audio, and we just get better because that's what you do. But if you look at some of the greatest people out there, they didn't do that shit. Al Fragoni, man, I remember watching Al Fragoni back in 2020 and thinking, dude, this guy's editing is so fucking sick. And he's just using his phone. I'm over
Uh-huh.
here with 4 cameras, hella lights, and it takes me an hour just to set up to shoot a video, and he's over here
Yep.
blowing up with his phone. Don't
There
get
you
hung
go.
up on the cameras and lights and shit. Just shoot the video.
Perfect advice. As long as the passion is coming through, you're enjoying what you're doing. That's where it really hits. It seems like, and based on my experience, when people start asking questions around the, hey, maybe my camera's outdated, or maybe this, or maybe that, like that's those seeds of doubt in those down points where things might be a little bit worse for them than they were, or they think they might be a little bit worse for them than they really are. And
Yeah.
that's trying to dig out of a hole. But when you're in a hole and you keep digging, you just go downward. So it's important to just stay the course, continue making great content, continue making content that your audience wants to see, and eventually good things start to happen.
And for my content, it was always my strategy to have the high quality stuff. It had nothing to do with me being a cinematographer before or anything like that. Nothing to do with that. What I saw on social media back in 2020, which is not true today, It was a sea of phone videos. So
Hmm.
how do you stand out? I pulled out my cameras. I knew I was going to stand out because it was
Yeah.
higher quality than a phone camera, and people didn't realize you just turn your camera. Just turn
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
camera on its side. Now you got vertical. People
Now
didn't
you got a
realize that
vertical.
back then. That was a strategy for me, and it worked. Does that same strategy work today? Absolutely not. Does it help? Yeah, because it's who I am. It's part of the brand that I've built, but it's not necessary.
And that's a really good point too, is that really the only constant about social media is that it's going to change. It changed a year ago from now. It's going to change a year from now. And we just have to keep up with it and keeping up with the times and understanding what the trends are and what people are wanting. And there's a whole new world of AI and everything else that's out there that's coming right around the corner that we probably don't even know about yet. So we'll stay the course and see what happens with that. Switching gears some, let's talk about your deals monetizing. I'm sure you've got deals that are coming in often, very often to your inbox. How do you evaluate those? What's a good deal versus a bad deal to you? What's important? What are you looking for in those? How do you evaluate those?
One of the things that I love in brands right now is the cooking gadgets. You're never
Mm-hmm.
going to catch me promoting something I just don't believe in. Let me give you an example here. Kingsford, right? I'm a fan of Kingsford briquettes. Huge fan of Kingsford briquettes. I buy them all the time. That's the briquette that I like to use. Also, I love
Sure.
Jealous Devil charcoal. I love Jealous Devil. Don't get jealous. They don't care about me anyhow. But I was offered like it was like a $15,000 to $20,000 deal to promote their flavored pellets.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely did not believe in it, and I turned it down. People thought I was crazy because I turned down $15,000 to $20,000, but I would never use that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe in you needing to flavor your pellets like onion and garlic. Your food needs to be flavored, not your
Mm-hmm.
wood. I'm not going to
Yeah.
go out there and, take my wonderful, beautiful, lovely Naughty Wood barbecue almond wood pellets that I only use. I'm not going to go put a bunch of paprika on it, and then put it in my Camp Chef.
Yep.
I'm going to use my Naughty Wood pellets the way they were intended. Anyhow, so I turned down that deal because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe in it. I know some people that took those deals and perhaps they have a different opinion on it, and that's on them. I think it's important that if we don't fully believe in the way something is going to perform and we wouldn't use it, then why take the money to promote it? Someone
Mm-hmm.
gave me a little shit the other day because I used an electric grill, a
Mm-hmm.
full-on electric grill. And it's like, okay, it's a cooking gadget, but let me explain. How many people live in apartments where they can't have grills, but they can have this?
Yeah.
They can have this. It's
Yep.
for them, So, with cooking gadgets, I take a close look at them. Who is it for? Who's it really going to benefit? And then, you just have to look at every brand and just really feel like I want to put my reputation behind it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just about the money, right? You can make more money. I promise you can make more money. I promise you will never have a problem with money. Okay? If you're talented and you have something to offer, you'll never have a problem with money. But look at these brands. Look at what they stand by. Look who owns them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and really just get a feel for, if you want to promote that brand. I turned down a Doritos brand once, and that was pretty big. Just be sure about what you're promoting. Don't just take the money. There's too many people that just
Absolutely.
take the fucking money.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're evaluating these brands and these deals, or maybe it's not a brand, maybe it's a new partnership or a line of seasonings or who knows, right? What are some deal breakers, or what are some things that you look to avoid when you are evaluating those?
You have to be careful who you work with in any industry, right? You got to be careful who you partner with. And as you grow on social media, a lot of people are going to take notice to that. And a lot of people are going to think, I can make money off of this person somehow. Or I
Mm-hmm.
could partner with this person and we can make some money together. Or
Mm-hmm.
I could partner with this person and I can scam a ton of people. So you really got to be careful about who you do business with. I'm going through something right now where I partnered with 7 creators to create a streaming service, and right now it's a failure. And a lot of it is because none of us, did our research on each other. And had we done that, we would have found out that one person in particular we shouldn't have gone into business with at all. 100% full stop. We shouldn't have gone into business with them. The red flags were there and they're all over the internet. So you have to, when people and brands approach you because of your social media,
Yeah.
research these people, look them up, find out what did they do before, and are they going to do it again? That's the big thing, right? If you don't take anything away from this podcast, take that away. You're going to do business with people, brands, people, creators, research, background checks, make it happen.
Absolutely. And for a lot of reasons, right? There's the financial reasons, there's legal reasons potentially. And then there's also, the reasons of keeping your fans and your following as well. If you start promoting something, if you do a big collab or you go into business with somebody who's getting arrested, right now in somebody's mind, and probably a lot of people's minds, there's a connection there between you and that other person, and that could go negatively for you, right? So being linked to someone or a brand that could potentially be doing bad things behind the scenes, and then that comes out and now you're their quasi spokesperson, is not a good look, and that hurts in a number of ways, right? That impacts how you feed the family and how you grow and how you get other deals that you really want, because they're not knocking on your door anymore. So absolutely fantastic advice there.
Another really important thing too, if you hire people, pay them. Pay them. Do not make the money and not pay people. I'm looking directly into the camera saying this. If you're making money and you hire somebody, you fucking pay them.
Yeah.
End of story.
And I think that could be said for individuals, right? If you've got somebody editing videos for you or setting up your cameras or whatever, but also brands. The number of brands that say, hey, how about you create a piece of content for us? We're going to run ads off of it and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you get the free grill out of it. So you're coming out ahead in that deal too. Like that's a lot of social media. And that's a trap that a lot of creators fall into, especially smaller creators that are just getting started out. Don't realize, they may be getting that $1,000 grill sitting in their backyard. They think they're cool and it's the greatest thing ever. The brand on the other side of that's making a ton of money off of you. So that's fantastic advice and things to be mindful of. And, if we were to turn back the hands of time and knowing what you know now, would there be anything that you did differently as you started as a creator in giving, this could be giving advice to new creators in this day and age?
I'd like to think that I would go back and erase all the cringy from my earlier videos. Man, I did some weird shit. I was like licking limes. I was sticking my fingers in the meat. I did this one video where, it's like a compilation of me slapping the meat and rubbing the meat. And like, fuck, I got thousands of duets from different women. It was just, it's wild, right? I'd like to think that I would not do that, but then I might not be here today. I think the part that bothers me is that people can still go watch that. I'm not saying to go watch it. I should have just shut my fucking mouth. Anyhow, I don't know if there's anything I would do differently. Even the experience that I'm going through with Embers TV, and I'm not going to touch on that, but things happened. I didn't do any research on someone, nor did anybody else. So we're having some troubles. We'll say that, and we'll just leave it at that. I think that's the only regret that I have, is not doing research on a few people. I did a seasoning collab with a brand. It ended up I made a ton of content for them, and I made like $800, and it was just a really bad deal. So some of those I guess the seasoning experience, it kind of taught me a lesson, so I wouldn't change that at all. I've made some good decisions as a creator doing certain brand deals and collaborations. One in particular I have coming up. I partnered with Hempco out of Hayward, and they're a lab that makes different infusions. They make tinctures, gummies, a whole myriad of things. We've teamed up to create some sauces. We have a tropical barbecue sauce infused, obviously. There's a chipotle honey barbecue sauce. Everything is infused. The jalapeno ranch, the lemon ranch, those are all becoming sauces. Dressings, I guess. Sauces, but they're infused. We have some honeys that are coming. All of this is going to be launching around July 15th this month. We're going to be at Champs Trade Show this month in Vegas, where we're going to launch a lot of these products.
That's awesome.
They're all microdose, by the way. So for people that when they do edibles, they only need about 5 to 10 milligrams maximum. You can eat a few servings and, not go to the moon. You can enjoy the,
Yeah.
the stuff that we make, because I think one of the things that I've seen is that a lot of these infused products, they're too potent, so you can't enjoy it. But what if it tastes good and you want to eat a little bit more? So I've made mine microdose so people can enjoy the sauces and such. So that's something I'm really excited for the future with collaborations and shit.
That's fantastic to be able to branch out into having your own products and doing all these other things. Is that something that you thought about back when you started on social media? Are you thinking, man, let me slap this dry brisket and maybe that's going to turn into a line of rubs or seasonings or sauces at some point someday?
Not really. I still feel a lot of the imposter syndrome, even putting out my seasoning. I've just never really been that guy like, hey, buy my shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I kind of have to be that person in a sense. It's amazing. It's one thing to put out sauces and seasonings, and, there's a lot of people in our space that's doing that. And there's a ton of competition, and I don't see my friends as competition, at all. But I mean, it's competition, because if somebody likes that, they're never going to buy your shit. I don't know. But with infusing it, making all these sauces and stuff, for the cannabis consumer, it's kind of like, creating my own lane. I'm stepping into my own lane a little bit. There's people that already do this, don't get me wrong. So, there is a lane. But as far as like where I'm at in life and in social media, I'm kind of creating my own lane with it. And it's exciting. It's really exciting.
And in starting any business, and I'm stating the obvious here, but in starting any business, you have to have a great product and you have to have a way to market it. Being able to reach a couple million people with a video and demonstrating it, really the only thing you're not doing with that product is sticking it through somebody's phone screen and saying, here, have a taste. Like, to be able to market it in a way that you have the ability to, you might as well, right? Why not? Who knows next time this opportunity is going to come about. So it's all about striking while the iron's hot and taking advantage of the situation that you've got. And it seems like you're doing a great job of that. So, we've covered a lot here. We've covered advice for new creators. We've talked about some new projects and things that you've got going on, some things that maybe haven't gone so well, and those lumps and those scars that have all kind of been part of the journey so far. Marco, at this point, before we end the show, is there anything else that you want to promote or anything else you want to cover or talk about at this point?
I just want to tell people, if you're going to jump into creating content, have some thick skin, because there's going to be people that love you, and there's going to be a lot of people that fucking hate you, and they're going to let you know that, so be prepared for that. Don't get hung up on cameras, lights, and all of that shit. Research people before you do business with them, and before you decide to sell a product for a brand, make sure you would use it.
And everybody's kind of got their own path and their own journey, right? In this thing. And, there's ups and there's downs, and it's how you handle it. And, quoting Rocky, or somebody probably, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up and, keep powering through for the passion that you love in doing this or doing anything else. So, really appreciate you walking through all of the ups and the downs and the journey that you've been on. And I think, this episode is as much about all of the great things that can come from social media that you've covered, and, some of the pitfalls as well. People have to go into this with their eyes wide open. There is negativity. There are people that will sit in their dark basement. That's the way I imagine it, just poking fun at stupid things that have no impact on anything else. But as a creator, you can feel that, right? You put your heart and your soul and everything into what you're doing. And if somebody says, oh, that sucks. And, you whatever, right? For a million different reasons, then you start getting in your head about it. And then there's the business side of it, the people aspect and everything else on the other side. So you've done a fantastic job of walking us through all those ups and downs. And I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show with us today, Marco.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Influencer Income Show. Head on over to influencerincomeshow.com, where you'll find all the video streams of the interviews that we've done on the YouTube channel right on the website. Also, get the audio podcast on all major streaming platforms. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms you watch and listen on. It really helps the show, and I would really appreciate it. See you next week.